係一個好特別嘅地方。一街之隔，嗰邊紅館每晚都喺度開 show， 呢邊殯儀館又係每晚都喺度開 show。
生人嘅感受先至係最重要。
咪就行外人同行內人嘅分別咯。
你個心都唔喺殯儀。
做男模全男唔全女傳統嚟㗎，可以嘅話我做咗啦。
講過10萬次㗎啦，女人有月經，祖師人唔中意嘅。
頭先啲説話聽咗30年。
阿文哥，你搞清楚啊！我唔係你條僆嚟，我做嘢係唔使經你批准嘅。
我1蚊都唔會攞呢條友嘅，
因為我怕知道啊。
如果你睇唔過眼嘅，門口喺嗰度，好行唔送。你哋男模就係負責超度先人，我哋行街就負責超度生人。
生人點會超度咧？你不知所謂。
我唔係㗎，生人都要破地獄㗎，生人都好多地獄。
Hi everybody, it's Sid from Cool Moviegram, your source for everything about cool movies. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, check out my other videos, and also leave me a like and some comments. And those of you who have been here before, welcome back to the channel. I never got around to doing a review of this film, but yeah, managed to catch it at the cinemas about a week or two ago. And I would definitely love to actually share my thoughts. And the film is, of course, The Last Dance, 2024 Hong Kong movie directed by Alnselm Chan, starring Deo Wong, Michael Hui, Michelle Y, Paul Chun and Catherine Chow, and many others. This was released by Cine Asia in the UK. And without further ado, let's just proceed. About a debt-ridden wedding planner, Dominic, who gets into the funeral business. He decides to take over Uncle Ming's part. Uncle Ming is played by Paul Chun, who's retiring, and he's actually the uncle of his girlfriend Jade, played by Catherine Chow. And he actually comes up with innovative ways to kind of spruce up the business and get more money, stand out from the market. But this kind of like, it doesn't sit well with Man, who's a traditional Taoist priest, and he feels that his approach to the funeral business and to the parlors and about the actual traditions of Taoism, it just doesn't sit well, and they clash quite a lot. But then at the same time, Dominic feels that, you know, he has to do this in a way because he has other commitments, like the fact that his girlfriend is pregnant, and he's also about to become a father, and also he also kind of like you know, is trying to put up with Man's very kind of like misogynistic views upon women, especially when it comes to the treatment of his own daughter Yue, who's a paramedic, and doesn't feel that she's of any worth or anything. And yeah, pretty much that's the gist of the film that I can give without spoiling it too much. You know what, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect myself to be as engaged in this movie as I thought it would be, because it's actually a very thought-provoking drama. I mean, I couldn't give too much of the synopsis away. I just wanted to give a very basic gist of the film. But well, what can I say? Alnselm Chan, who's known for making comedies, and even Deo Wang, who's a very successful stand-up comedian. He's very well known in Hong Kong, and of course Michael Hui, who's a legend, does really well. And the performances of this film were done really well. I mean, it kind of captures like pretty much the whole emphasis of, like, for example, people holding on to tradition. And you kind of get to see this through Michael Hoy's character Man, and he does an absolutely amazing job in this, as well as Dio Wang, as someone who's just trying to kind of survive and also kind of like just support his family. I mean, yeah, you got decent support from Paul Chun. I mean, Michelle Y, who's kind of playing his man's daughter, is absolutely fantastic in this film. Definitely, I mean, the fact that she's kind of putting up with her father's rather sexist and misogynistic views towards women, and he's, but she's kind of, trying to prove her own. And I would say definitely, I mean, this was quite a trap. I mean, some of the things were quite interesting, how, like, you got this one woman who wants to kind of, like, mummify her son, and wouldn't want to go into too much detail of that, but visually, I thought the film was very kind of captivating, especially the opening sequence when you get them doing the performing the Breaking Hell's Gate, in terms of, like, which is like a ceremony in Taoist culture, where when it comes to these funeral practices that they have, and it was very well captured. And even the film's kind of like the overall look of the film is quite melancholic, but at the same time it's got this very realistic kind of feel to it. I mean, it's a very natural kind of like setting, very realistic kind of like viewpoint on these things, and then it's just also kind of capturing like the tradition and for example, bringing it forward for the newer generation, and whether it's things like these, whether they need to change or whether they need to kind of like stick to the core principles. But definitely it was really well done. I mean, the music score was really good as well, and the cinematography again was really good. Performances by everyone across the board, especially Michelle Y. She was amazing as you. I mean, especially when, I don't want to spoil the movie, but especially when it comes towards the end of the film, where she decides to kind of like take part in one of these traditions. You see how the kind of the attitudes of especially a lot of the people who are pretty much rooted deep in their tradition, they just don't want to give in and they don't want to change, and it just kind of shows like society's views, and how a certain section of society just kind of holds on to their beliefs, but the fact is that they just like have no room for kind of innovation or any kind of like, I wouldn't say innovation, but I would say more like just moving forward in any sense. But it's actually quite like heartwarming at the time, but also it's very touching. It's a very touching drama because it's very kind of it's a very human story about these things, because it might just, instead of just being just like an educational video on Taoist funeral kind of practices, it's more like a human drama based around those involved in this, and about these lives and how they changed throughout. I mean, Michael Hoy again is very, very good, considering that these actors are pretty much known. Dio Wang and Michael Hoy have always been known more for their comedic roles. But this film itself, it was actually much more successful than any other Hong Kong movie at all. It's actually broken box office records. Considering it's been such a very successful year for Hong Kong movies, especially with how this year's Twilight of the Warriors was such a huge hit. And then also at the same time, you've got Last Dance. And even Donnie Yen's The Prosecutor is actually doing really well on its opening business so far. But considering this movie kind of just another movie that exceeded over the 100 million mark at the local box office, which shows that this is actually kind of maybe a resurgence of Hong Kong cinema. Who knows? I mean, this film was written by and directed by Alnselm Chan, who kind of came up with the idea whilst whilst they were still in the whole kind of COVID-19 lockdown situation, after seeing so many people passing away like that close to them because of this the pandemic. And he decided to kind of think, you know what, I would love to make a movie about this as well, like just inspired by what's been going on. And the fact that he actually, instead of going for more traditional dramatic actors, Chan decided that I would rather use comedians, because comedians are, like, in his opinion, are much better, the most kind of skilled actors that you could find, because comedy is hard. I mean, comedy is very difficult to do. Not everyone can do comedy, but then people who can do comedy can also kind of venture into something more serious. I mean, we've seen that with people like even Jackie Chan, who's pretty much a physical comedian, but he had actually kind of veered into more serious roles, going into his kind of like latest stage in his career with films like Shinjuku Incident, The Foreigner, and even, like, for example, The Karate Kid, and so on and so forth, and the films that I've actually mentioned in one of my previous videos where I discussed how, you know, Jackie Chan had actually given 5 really good performances, just to list. And this film, what can I say? I mean, it covers, like, a lot of different themes, and it's very kind of captivating drama. But at the same time, it's well directed, well written. The acting is really good, and it's just one of those films where I was actually glued to the screen. I didn't move from my seat, not once, not even for a toilet break. I didn't look at my phone. I wasn't just kind of like feeling that the movie was dragging too long or anything like that. It was just kind of very kind of well kind of paced, well written, and it's very engrossing. It's a very engrossing film, and this was kind of, again, it did exceed my expectations, and I would definitely, I could see myself easily when this movie is released on physical media. I would definitely be getting this. My rating, this is a 5 out of 5 film. Watch it. I would absolutely urge people to watch it. Even if, for example, you're not into the whole, Taoism or anything like that, it doesn't have to be, but the fact is, it's just kind of like, just a contemplation on life and death, and for example, the meaning of relationships and everything that's kind of involved. I would say this is a well-directed drama, well-acted, and I'll absolutely recommend it. A 5 out of 5 movie, one of the best films of the year too. Let me know in the comments if you have seen anything that's similar to this film. I would love to discuss more of this with you. Anyways, that was me. Just a quick, not going to be as long as my other videos, but definitely I will see you on the next one.